Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Terre, Haute. This congregation welcomes all people, regardless of their age, religion, race, nationality, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or anything else that has been used to divide people. We are a group of people with our own opinions, our own ideas, our own dreams. But we share ideals. We share a common belief in a liberal religion. In our discussions, we may disagree with each other, but we must always remember that what unites us is stronger than what separates us. We must always end the service aware of the love that we have for each other.
Respect for the interdependent web of all existence is a glorious statement. Yet we made a profound mistake when we limited it to merely an environmental idea. It is so much more. It is our response to the great dangers of both individualism and oppression. It is our solution to the seeming conflict between the individual and the group. Our seventh principle may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web, expressed as the spirit of life, the ground of all being, the oneness of all existence, the community-forming power, the process of love, the creative force, even God, can help us develop that social understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need. It is a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. The Reverend Horace Gilmore, Shalom Community Center, Bloomington, Indiana. Our opening words are number 651 in the back of your hymnal, and this is a responsive reading. I am a single cell in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique. I am interlocked with other human beings in the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and feelings. I will work for human unity and human peace, for a moral order in harmony with the order of the universe. Together we share the quest for a society as a whole, equal to our needs. A society in which we need not live beneath our moral capacity, in which justice has a life of its own. We are single cells in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. Norman Cousins.
An extremely brief history of oxygen in the natural world. Researchers believe that some oxygen existed in the shallow seas of the Precambrian Earth more than 3 billion years ago, but only in relatively small quantities. The change to an oxygen environment. Because there was so little free oxygen in the environment at first, early bacteria were anaerobic. In fact, oxygen was toxic to these bacteria. The first aerobic bacteria had chlorophyll, so they could use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to produce carbohydrates and oxygen. Chlorophyll is the green stuff. Anaerobic bacteria did not have chlorophyll. When the bacteria with chlorophyll came upon the scene, they caused the Great Oxygen Catastrophe. 95% of all living creatures on Earth perished because oxygen was toxic to them. Photosynthesis was the wave of the future. Green plants came to dominate the planet, creating an atmosphere that was rich in oxygen. Animals that would not perish in an oxygen atmosphere were favored to survive. Animals that actually required oxygen for survival, including humans, became the dominant forms of life on Earth. The photosynthesis cellular respiration connection. The reactants and the products are reversed. The oxygen connection, we all breathe. Pulmonary or lung circulation is vital to cellular respiration and breathing. The first written description of pulmonary circulation was made by Michael Servetus. Oddly, Servetus' description of pulmonary circulation was included in a paper that he had entitled The Restoration of Christianity, written in 1553. Being a Unitarian, Servetus did not believe in the concept of the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He believed that the Trinity was a construct of the Church and not an inherent belief of Christianity. And unlike the Calvinists, Servetus did not believe that God preordained who would go to heaven and who would go to hell. Later that year in Geneva, 1553, Calvinists burned Servetus at the stake for heresy. Which brings us to the next oxygen connection pertaining to human beings, the connection between cellular respiration and combustion or fire. Cellular respiration uses oxygen as a reactant. Combustion uses oxygen as a reactant as well. In his paper, Observations on Respiration and the Use of Blood, Joseph Priestley was the first to suggest a connection between blood and air, although he did so using phlogiston theory, the accepted theory of the time. Basically, the theory proposed a mythical substance, phlogiston, that was released from all combustible substances by fire and respiration. Priestley failed to show empirically that such a substance actually existed. The discovery of oxygen during the Age of Enlightenment. Joseph Priestley is credited with being the first to describe oxygen. He understood oxygen to be the connecting piece between fire and respiration. but he stubbornly refused to relinquish the phlogiston theory. He was known as Gunpowder Joe for a paper he wrote encouraging the downfall of the Church of England, and he helped to establish the Unitarian Church in America. Antoine Lavoisier, also during the Age of Enlightenment, was the first to identify oxygen as an element. He is known as the father of modern chemistry due to his meticulous quantification of matter. He criticized Priestley's persistence of believing in the phlogiston theory, and he provided gunpowder to Benjamin Franklin during the American Revolution. He was beheaded along with King Louis XVI during the Reign of Terror at the end of the French Revolution. The Age of Enlightenment ended with the Reign of Terror. Two industrial revolutions soon took the place of the Age of Enlightenment. The first industrial revolution, 1760 to 1860, was steam-powered. The second industrial revolution, 1860 to 1914, was gasoline and electricity. Mass production became the driving goal. Social and cultural systems became institutionalized on a massive scale. Big factories, big cities, big agriculture, big schools, big hospitals, big prisons, big government, and big banks, big populations. And much of the fuel to feed the fires that made the industrial age possible came from the fossil remains of those long-dead plants that started the great oxygen catastrophe in the first place. This abstract sculpture adorning the Science Building at ISU was done by the late artist John Laska, member of the Terre, Haute Unitarian Universalist congregation. It depicts Prometheus holding his liver, which has been plucked out as punishment for giving fire to humans, according to the ancient Greek myth. Contrary to what many people believe, science, like art, is subjective and culturally embedded. As scientists bring their background to their work, so do artists. John once pointed out to me that the big difference between man and the other animals is that man is the fire starter. Moreover, much of science is reliant upon fire. This is why it is fitting that John's statue is placed in front of the ISU Science Building. Man's dependence on fire, as seen in the light of that ancient myth. According to Greek mythology, fire was a gift to humans from Prometheus. But according to the myth, fire had been forbidden to humans by Zeus. Which begs the question, why was it forbidden? Mankind, the fire starters. How do we use fire? Cooking. Pottery making. Glass blowing. Smelting and metallurgy. The study of microbiology. Chemical reactions. Internal combustion engine. Jet engine. Coal-generated electricity. Land and wildfire management. Think about it. Almost any man-made thing that you can name is connected to fire in some way. Without our ability to control and use fire, we would find survival very difficult, if not impossible. But for all of its advantages, there are unintended consequences from the use of fire. Pollution from byproducts. Sometimes mankind uses fire for deliberate destruction. Arson. Terrorism. War. Fireworks, celebration of gunpowder. An artist made a statement about the practices of science by using the Prometheus myth. What was his message? So here we are in the midst of a pandemic that has been caused by a virus that attacks the lungs of its victims. The coronavirus disease, COVID-19, makes the intake of oxygen difficult. Pulmonary respiration becomes a painful process that requires the assistance of mechanical ventilators in extreme cases. The question to consider is COVID-19 nature's attempt to restore natural balance in the post-industrial age? COVID-19 started in the wet markets of the city of Wuhan, China. And China is a country that has been industrializing for about 35 years, a latecomer in the game. China is the most populous country in the world with more than 1.4 billion people. Modern mass transportation helped spread coronavirus worldwide. From China to Europe to the United States, virtually every country in the world has been affected. The current number of positive coronavirus cases in the United States is estimated to be greater than 5.4 million. The current number of deaths in the U.S. from COVID-19 is more than 170,000 this year. Put this in perspective, heart disease and cancer are the two top killers in America. The 2017 statistics put heart disease at about 650,000 a year and cancer at about 600,000 a year. The U.S. Civil War over the 4 years killed more than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam combined. COVID-19 has surpassed the average yearly rate of the Civil War. So far, only the Spanish influenza killed more Americans in 1918 and 1919.